Hi there, this is a piece of audio content that is only available in full over at patreon.com/Elwood City Limits. We wanted to give you a little bit of a preview to show you what you might be missing out on. You can join us for as little as $1 under the Pay What You Want model at patreon.com/Elwood City Limits and get access to over dozens of hours of content, including every episode of For the Kids, a PBS Kids podcast. We appreciate you listening, whether you're a patron or whether you're listening on the free feed. You're under no obligation to join, and thank you very much for checking out this preview. But if you'd like to know what these episodes and extra content sounds like, here's a little bit of a sneak peek.
Before everything, let's talk about the way that the show looks and the way that the show moves, because that is something that you and I are most concerned about when we encounter a cartoon that we've never seen before. So as I said, this is made on very similar tools as Arthur itself would have been made, but just even more modern. The most modern stuff we've seen from Arthur is circa 2019. This would have been worked on only a couple of years ago. So right away, the design of the show I felt was very colorful. There's a lot of enticing shapes on the characters. So it's following that rule of children's television. It's just like, it's immediately grabs your eye and is pleasing to look at. I felt that a lot of the designs reminded me a lot of Richard Scarry, and I wonder how intentional that was.
Okay, so in talking about the visual aesthetic of the show, I'm of two minds. In one mind, I think, and this is, I think, a credit to Mark Brown, the character designs, I think, are really good.
Yes.
There's numerous children's shows that star anthropomorphic animals. And the thing that immediately stuck out about this show is, the character designs are super strong. Hop looks distinct. The frogs don't look like frogs I've seen in other animated shows. The color palette in which these animals are drawn is distinct. Kind of the texture of the backgrounds and the texture of the animals themselves retain that kind of classic Mark Brown storybook quality. They're not the flat colors that we criticize many Toon Boom. And even modern Arthur looks very flat. There's a texture to these character designs that I think are strong. So I thought that was one of the things that really jumped out at me right away, was that Hop and his gang, great characters, great character work. And I really like the backgrounds as well, especially the more urban backgrounds when they're not in the open countryside.
I wonder, just before you get into your next point, I wonder how much that has to do with Photoshop was listed as one of the things that it was animated in. So I wonder if that was how a lot of those textures that pop and those sorts of things that go into the moving characters help them to stand out more.
Well, that leads to the second point, which is that there is some of that kind of Toon Boom, for lack of a better term, motion tween. Now, it goes in and out, right? Like, I'm rewatching this scene with the pancakes and Hops running around, and this looks really good.
Yeah.
The way he's moving and kind of cartwheeling around, this kind of action scene, the camera's dynamic. That looks great, but there is some of these scenes where whenever the characters are kind of standing around talking, it has that motion tween look that some of those Flash shows, especially modern Arthur, has that look where I always refer to it as like the paper puppet look, where you can tell that motion tweens are being used to, okay, this character's going to gesticulate, so we're going to have a computer say, all right, your arm starts here, and it's going to get here within this amount of time, and it gives them the look of marionettes being moved around as opposed to a living creature that's fluidly animating. Now, who's to blame for this? Probably nobody on the team. This is, I think, a product of the tools they're using, right? To get a show to look the way I want in today's day and age. Now, I really don't know, because there's some shows that don't really look this way. I think that a Bluey, and I might bring the Bluey up again later on as a point of comparison, but a Bluey or Amazing World of Gumball look a little bit more dynamic. However, Hop, it's middle of the road. There's things that really impressed me about its look, and there's some things where I think, okay, if I turned this on children's television, would I think this was just another PBS show? Perhaps. It doesn't break it away from the pack in any huge ways. But under a fine-tuned microscope, there are things that really shine.
It really helps this show that it starts here. And it's a funny thing to say, but it's because we're used to Arthur having been traditionally animated and then going to Flash, I think it really helps that Hop started there. And it seems like everybody, I thought a lot of the motion, especially like you were talking about in the kind of more action-packed scenes, worked really well and was able to emulate the type of animation that we were used to seeing, in hand-drawn, just with digital tools. You're right in that it's hard to escape that kind of paper doll aesthetic sometimes, but I thought this one dealt with it a lot better than really modern Arthur did in its time. It has this kind of quick classic cartoon style with the computer enhanced colors, and so I felt that they got a really good medium. You're right, there's not a whole lot about it that's especially like super distinct, but I also thought that it looked good for what it was trying to do. Like you said, so in this first episode of Circus for Philippa, it starts off with Hop, who is creating what he calls his patented pancake popper. And it is a machine that creates perfectly made pancakes. Penny, his friend, presses a button and causes it to spit out hundreds of pancakes. It's a classic cartoon mishap. And they have so many pancakes now. What are they going to do with them? Well, Hop goes up to the roof of... He lives on a boat, eh? And he goes up to...
Very PB&J Otter vibes. Remember, they lived on a houseboat.
Oh, that's right, they did. Hop puts out what his friends call the call to come over and enjoy the pancakes. This is basically the oh my god, the horn from Fellowship of the Ring that Boromir uses to call everybody. But it's to come over and eat pancakes, not assist in battle. So everybody comes over. I was not prepared for... it's like animals talking, like all that kind of stuff. It's like, I was ready for that. I wasn't ready for the fact that we go from the magic realism of Arthur to just straight up fantastical elements. For example, Hoot, who is one of the friends, has a car and it has eyes. And later we find out it talks. So
yeah, it's sort of an artificial intelligence with abilities and stuff like that. So we're way out of the kind of grounded, lived-in sitcom slice of life that Arthur is, and this is a little bit more of a traditional children's show in that it's kind of zany and wacky and anything can happen. I also wanted to mention, you said the pancake incident is kind of classic cartoon fare. It also reminded me of one of your favorite shows, Will. It's very Teletubby-esque. I feel like whenever they're trying to make Teletubby custard, something goes horribly wrong. Yeah, the Chaotic Pancake Party reminded me of that. Also, Mark Brown, we can't escape the animal hierarchy. Because once we kind of change settings and they finish those pancakes and they're wondering why their friend, the titular Philippa, didn't come to the pancake breakfast, and they think something's up with her. And they're trying to figure out what to do, and they put together this circus. Well, the circus features chickens and cows, and again, these are not funny animals. These are just regular chickens and cows. So the animal hierarchy, we're talking about frogs and hippos and an owl. Somehow they get to wear clothes and talk, but they're still animals that are lowly compared to them. So I just had to point that out.
Of course.
Okay, that's going to do it for now, but we will see you next time on Elwood City Limits or at patreon.com/ElwoodCityLimits if you decide to join us. Thank you very much, and have a great week.